So a few short months ago, I reviewed the Cadillac Lyriq, and there weren't that many on the road, and I declared it underrated because I loved that thing, and it was super good for the price. And so I suddenly see them on the road all the time now, and it feels like I was justified in saying that. But then I saw Cadillac was coming out with a sort of a little brother, smaller version called the Optiq. And my first thought was, okay, maybe this is gonna kind of feel like the Model 3 to the Model S, where it's actually probably better for most people. It's smaller, it's cheaper, and even though the Model S is the flagship and it's great, you should probably get the Model 3. But I actually don't think that's how you should think about this car now that I've driven it. I think there's a different angle that makes more sense, that makes the Optiq also pretty sick. Now, I still think the same thing about the basics, which is, yes, the Optiq is a Lyriq Jr. That is still the best way to think about it. It's the same category as a Lyriq, but it's a little bit cheaper and a lot smaller. So it's going to start in the 50,000s and a little bit smaller wheelbase, a little bit less total storage, but still definitely a little crossover thing. If you've thought about some of the other cars I've previously reviewed, not that long ago, the Volvo EX30, the Tesla Model Y, or even like the Ioniq 5 cars in this class, and if you look at those and you think those are all so simplistic, so minimal inside. I really want something that feels like luxury for this price. For an EV, that is the strength of the Optiq. This thing still looks great in like 97% of the same ways that the Lyriq did. Like, look at the front here, you still have these big vertical DRLs. They do a light show when you first come up to the vehicle, a big plastic fake grille here, but the Cadillac logo on the front, and then there's the actual vents at the bottom. You go to the side, it's on these dark 21-inch wheels. I kind of like these wheels too, but I'm a sucker for black wheels, so maybe it's just me. You get to the side profile. It looks, I mean, if you didn't know better, you might think you're looking at a Lyriq. But then, of course, you have these cool door handles, which open from the front instead of the back. That's a nice little touch. Some people don't like moving door handles, but I think that's cool. And then you have this sort of sleek design element here at the back. There is actually a window in that back. You can kind of see the outline of the window right there, but they make the big design detail kind of look like the Lyriq. And then you get to that butt, I mean the back, the taillights, which again, with the vertical lines, look a lot like the Lyriq, and then you have the brake light up here. So this from the back is very recognizable still, like a related car. You also have a little rear view mirror camera right there, and then you hit that logo, and of course that'll open up your trunk to show you still actually a very respectable amount of storage space. You also have the sub trunk for your cables if you want to drop some in there, but obviously way more than ideal for grocery shopping or transporting stuff around. The seats fold completely flat if you want to fit a whole bicycle in there or something crazy, so you're not missing out on a whole lot. It's technically smaller than the Lyriq a little bit, but not too bad. The big difference here with the Optiq over its competition is going to be on the inside. So real quick, I'll show you the charge port, which is CCS and motorized, and you know, does the whole Cadillac presentation thing. But the Optiq is about the inside, so I think we should zip into the driver's seat. Now, the thing that Cadillac will never say about this vehicle is that it is essentially a fancy Chevy Equinox, kind of like the same way the Lyriq is a fancy Chevy Blazer, made by the same company. It's essentially the same vehicle platform, but with a very different interior. But that interior makes a really big difference in the way it feels and the way you think about a vehicle like this. I mean, these seats are heated, ventilated, they can massage you. You turn around and look at all the materials in here. This is a nice feeling sort of fabric material. There's plenty of leather with nice stitching. Even things that aren't metal kind of feel like metal. There's a lot of really good looks and even some color, this blue trim up here at the front, that make this feel luxury. I mean, again, throwback to something like a Model Y or a Volvo EX30 or even the Ioniq, and you'll notice there's a big difference in just the way it feels. And then also technology-wise, there's a lot going on here too. So there's an HUD up there, which is nice. You do have some storage space down here, and then there's another little bit of like cubby storage in here with two USB Type-C ports, so you could throw a phone in here wired. We'll get to that in a second. There's also a glove box. Unfortunately, that's the only way to open it on the screen, but that's nice too. You have these nice vents which kind of point around in the same way that the Lyriq does, and open and close with a rotation. Over here, I don't love the piano black, but you do have this nice seat adjustment up in the door instead of down to your side, so that's nice. Good amount of door storage with that blue trim. It looks nice in here. I think people who are used to, if you've seen a Lyriq, obviously you're gonna find it familiar. Also, huge shout out to Super Cruise being standard. So you have that little indicator on the steering wheel, you have this here, and Super Cruise controls right here. So that being standard on an Optiq is lovely. What you might not like as much, which is also gonna be true about the Lyriq, is this huge touchscreen back here. And this left side here is also a touchscreen. Over here, though, it is essentially Google stuff. You got the Play Store, you've got Google Assistant. There is no CarPlay or Android Auto, but if you want Maps, it's Google Maps already. You can sign in with your Google account, kind of just like it's your phone, and do all the same stuff. If you want Waze, if you want Spotify, if you want Alexa, Amazon Music, you can just throw it on the screen here by signing into the Play Store. So that's all still there. If you like that, great. Same thing as the Lyriq. There is a set of 19 AKG speakers in this car, and then they actually did make a pretty big deal about them supporting Dolby Atmos. I don't think they sound that good. That's just one of my weaknesses of the tech inside the car. You can see the AKG logo over there and on a bunch of the other speakers that surround the cabin. So that's kind of an odd weakness. One more thing, I'll go and show you guys the back seat, because yes, it is smaller than the Lyriq, but it's really not dramatically worse as far as legroom, especially if you've never been in one of those full-size Lyriqs before. So behind a 6'3" driving position and that huge, soft, comfortable headrest, I actually do have a good amount of footroom and legroom. I have a little bit less headroom. My head is actually touching this ceiling trim piece here, and I'm 6'3", so I think a lot of people might have to experience that. This is a panoramic glass sunroof. It doesn't open or close, but it is nice. And there is, of course, still a whole bunch more speakers and blue trim and the same USB-C ports as the Lyriq, plus your 3 levels of heating, which is cool. Oh, and a regular outlet and more storage. Great. You know, you could probably make the argument that just because it is smaller than the Lyriq, it is actually probably better for most people in most places. A lot of urban environments, a lot of city drivers are gonna like that it's smaller. And then you get to driving the thing, and fully unremarkable driving experience. It is tuned for luxury over sportiness. There is a sport mode, but aside from the 300 horsepower number, there isn't much sporty about driving the Optiq at all. Nice, soft, relatively floaty suspension, really, really indirect, like steering feel. The steering wheel is huge and soft, and steering is really light. And yeah, you don't feel like you're driving anything sporty. It actually lacks a lot of the zip that I feel like some of those other simpler EVs have, like an Ioniq or a Tesla or even the EX30. Are going to feel much sportier and have much more acceleration than this, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, in general, you know, it gets the 300 miles of range. It does point A to point B very, very well. As far as commuting, it's going to be a luxury feel. It's going to match that luxury feel. The drive is soft and chill, and that's all you can ask for. But again, it's all this. This is what you're paying for, and this is the feel that people are after when you pick something like this over, like I keep going back to the Chevy Equinox or the Chevy Blazer. That's its main advantage, is this luxury feel. I like this heated steering wheel. I like a lot of things about just sitting here in this comfortable seat and having all this room and this floating shelf and this crystal volume knob and all this stuff. That's what the Cadillac experience is all about. That's why the Lyriq was underrated, and that's why this is also pretty great. Now, it is actually pretty similar in price to the Lyriq, so here's my asterisk on top of all of that. The Lyriq rides better and does have more storage space. So in a world where like the Tesla Model 3 and Model S were a few $1,000s apart, I would say get the Model S every time. It's just a better vehicle. With this particular vehicle, it is a few grand cheaper than the Lyriq, and so because it's smaller, it's probably better for more people. But if you can get a Lyriq, if you have the space for a Lyriq is not that much more, and you could probably just get that and be very happy as well. The Lyriq is great. But yeah, there it is, Lyriq Jr., the little brother. It's actually really good for the money and feels luxury, which is what it's all about. Let me know what you think though. Would you pick this, or would you pick something stark and clean like the EX30 and just have a little more fun driving? Let me know in a comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.